What is the most annoying thing a visitor has ever done in your house? Invited herself to stay and then stayed for 8 weeks. She's my aunt and she used to live with us, so she comes unannounced pretty regularly, but 8 weeks was too much and we were too nice to kick her out. We did tell her that wasn't happening again though. I got up to get popcorn for movie night. A few friends were coming over and the one who got there early proceeded to try and watch pee and masturbate on my couch. Kicked him out. He tried to get back in. Bonked the frisky and sent him to frisky jail. Brought their sick butt kid over for a play date instead of cancelling, knowing full well my toddler has an autoimmune disorder that necessitates her to go there for a blood draw every time she gets a fever over 100.5. When I was young and naive, I let my sick friend stay with me for a few days. I felt sorry for her. I was trying to help her get back on her feet and change her life. I had left the house and when I came back, she was gone, along with my rent money that I had stashed. Took an entire jug of cleaning vinegar and put it, still sealed, thankfully, in my sock drawer. Same person also replaced a half-dozen light bulbs in our lamps throughout the house with beefsteak tomatoes. Same person also put, still sealed, thankfully, stacks of cat food cans in our showers. All on the same night. Actually get a good laugh out of it now since it was all harmless, but at the time I was like, what? This is the most random crap I've read in a long time, lol. Friend and her boyfriend came over. I didn't know he was abusive because it was the first time I met him and she never told me anything about him. He spent the evening getting crap-faced on beer he brought, slamming my doors, refusing to acknowledge me, and yelling at my friend on my balcony. They were supposed to spend the night and left early because he sensed my hostility. I've never hated someone so much. My older dog walked up to greet him and he grabbed the dog by the neck and lifted him off the ground to establish dominance. Needs throat punch and maybe a kick in the nuts for good measure. Not a visitor in my house but an intruder in my dorm. My roommate's boyfriend. Literally every time he enters the dorm while I'm here it's a disaster. He watched over my roommate's shoulder while she was putting the code in and just let himself in. I made a rule where he can't come into the dorm, and we have to seriously limit his time here. And he can't be in the dorm the same time as me, because he literally antagonizes me. So, one day he just waltzes in, and I tell him to get out. Dude just stands there until I get up off of my bed. My Mill was invited over to watch my toddler while I went to a doctor's apt. She went into my room, which I told her not to do unless she had permission, and took a shirt of mine out of my closet, as well as threw out my lace panties or anything she found that her Bible thumping self disapproved of. My father's friend's wife picked all the lemons from our lemon tree, not just some, but all of the yellow ripe ones she could see. This was during their condolence visit after my father had passed about a month ago. My mom was so upset. The lady even brought a bag from home specifically for this. Lemon stealing W. I hope she squeezed juice in her eyes and had cuts all over her hands. But I can't wait to use lemon stealing W in a conversation. Told me to leave my house so that he could do drugs. Whole mess of an ex that needed a place to stay and I said yeah sure before finding out that he was now a rimhead. I may have been living in a trailer park but I wasn't that trashy. I told him I didn't want that crap around me and he told me to go outside while he smoked. Like, for freaking serious dude, get out of my house. My Mill counted every single photo in my house, then divided them between her family, 4 members, and mine, large and fractured. She expected a 50/50 number split. Of course, there was more of my family. This resulted in a tearful tantrum of epic proportions. I permanently fixed it by displaying only photos of my sons. Not ideal, but she was more out of sorts by having no photo of herself displayed as compared to fewer photos of herself. And since her behavior caused this, she was in no position to throw a second fit. During a party I threw, I saw one of my boyfriend's friend pour beer on my dog's head while laughing. He was outside alone with him. I just happened to look over. We don't talk to him anymore. Not technically a visitor but a friend, and I say this in quotation marks because I don't see him a friend anymore. He has schizophrenia and anger issues and is heavily medicated. One night about 6 years ago in which he forgot to take his meds, he came to my house to watch a football match. When his team lost, dude went full sicko mode. Tore off the back the computer chair I was sitting on and freaking smashed it against my face. Went running towards the door. Kicked my cat in the process. And when he got out of my house, he smashed the front door so hard he broke its glass window. I had to look for new friends after that. Husband of my wife's friend, who I never met before, proceeded to vehemently argue with me about how we were making a big mistake in our vacation choice in Europe. He never had even been there before. Like, WTF is wrong with you? Still can't stand to see him to this day. LOL. When I was in university, someone took one of my roommate's drawers out of her dresser, put it on the ground, and peed in it. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Cleaned a clean pan. My grandmother-in-law came over for dinner and asked if she could bring dessert. She brought ingredients to make dessert. She got a pan out and began cleaning it. Then came over and told me my pan was dirty because it has some stuff that stained it. I told her it's clean and has been cleaned multiple times. She said I just don't want dessert to taste like meat and continued to try to clean the dang pan and tell me how to clean my house in general while she did it. Because of this, dinner was cold by the time we were able to sit down to eat, and she continued to lecture me about cleaning all through dinner. What a bee. Straight up calling the host crusty. My mother came over along with everyone else the day I got back from the hospital after having my first child and listed everything that was wrong with the house and how I was a horrible housekeeper, and that even though I had a baby now I had to keep my husband happy no matter what I had to do. This was in front of the rest of my family, grandma, great grandma, dad, and my husband's family, 3 siblings, mom, dad, aunt, grandma, grandpa, and no one said anything to her. My dad did make me a pot roast though. I'm getting angry just reading it. Dear Lord. Let his part of the basement become a huge mess, including leaving a peanut butter container with the lid off under the pool table. My parents opened up their home to him. He was homeless at the time, and that's how he said thank you. Months later he apologized and everything after he disappeared from school too. For a few weeks. Now we're best friends again though, and I was best man at his wedding. This was mostly confusing. I have a bottle of 18 Yodalmore that I enjoy from time to time, around $240 bottle. I had a few friends over who were already pretty tipsy, and one of them loves the Cuban rum I brought home, so I offered to pour everyone some. We sit around the table drinking. One drunkard, that I didn't know very well, finished his quick and decided to go back for more. I wasn't paying close attention, and apparently neither was he. He comes back with a full tumbler of alcohol, at least 8 oz, and proceeds to guzzle it down before we call it quits for the night. When I come out to my bar area the next day, I notice my 18 Yodalmore looks oddly lower than normal. When it hits me that dude didn't pour himself 8 ounces of Cuban rum. He poured 8 ounces of my favorite scotch. My cousin one time got to use my bedroom and he went for a swim in all of his clothes and then laid on my mattress without drying off. Then he cut his toenails in my living room on the carpet and told me he was better at music than me because I just played guitar and he did house music on his computer. Then he stole all of the soda drinks my uncle bought for me and hid them in his car. He was 32 and he was visiting with his family for my 17th birthday. House music. Showed up with their pet dog to a party at our house without asking if it was okay. It was raining, so they assumed we would just let them have their dog in the house. Despite not having any pets of our own and our kids having pet allergies, they then proceeded to invite every guest out to our garage, where my husband had moved out our cars to make space for their dog out of the rain, to tell them how awful we were for not letting their dog into our house. Around our kids, WHO are allergic. Rearranging my furniture and baby-proofing my house instead of watching her toddler. She decided everything down low should be piled up high and shoved into cabinets. I came home from work at 2 o'clock to an 8-year-old that told me, very rudely, "You need to be quiet. My mom is sleeping." So I go downstairs to let my 2 massive pit bulls out to run. I crate them when I'm at work. They're 75 and 85 pounds. Imagine my shock when I get to their room and they're already out, relaxing on the couch with a 1-year-old. I immediately grabbed the baby, opened the door for the dogs, and ran upstairs. I asked the 8-year-old that was playing video games on the 3rd floor, 2 floors away from the baby, who was watching the baby. Me was his reply. I didn't lecture him. It's not his fault. I waited until his mom, husband's sister, woke up 3 hours later to discuss all the concerns about unattended babies being mauled by dogs. My dogs are angels and have never shown any signs of aggression, but they're animals. They have muscular bodies and powerful jaws, and I know babies can be handsy, and I'm not even sure how she got the crates opened. Holy crap, that was terrifying, and they didn't seem very concerned. Not to mention, I have a 9 feet in-ground pool and a 4 feet pond in the backyard that's fully fenced, but easily accessible from any of the back doors. God, what if she decided to go outside and get in the water? WTF. And I have daturas and oleander planted. 1 bite and she's in the IQ. It really didn't occur to me that I'd have to tell them all the dangers. I assumed everyone just watched their baby. I didn't even think about it at the time, but I've got THC edibles and mushrooms in my room. That would have been fun explaining to the hospital. All of our firearms were in safes, but they didn't know that. I can just see the article now. Baby, high on mushrooms, is chased by pit bulls. In her effort to run, she drowned in the backyard pool. Moral of this story: when you're in someone's home, watch your baby. Jesus, if she was that neglectful of her kids at someone else's house, I can't even imagine what it's like in privacy. Frick that. My dad's GFS friend's son took a huge crap in my bathroom and then clogged the toilet. He then tried to use the toilet cleaning brush to unclog it. Toilet ended up overflowing a little bit, and he walked out like nothing happened. My dad went in like 20 minutes later and freaked out. There was poop, water and toilet paper everywhere, and the cleaning brush was covered in toilet paper. We ended up throwing like everything away and deep cleaned the bathroom. My dad was so pissed. The kid, when confronted, literally said, "I thought I fixed it," like hello? This is why every bathroom in my house will have a plunger in it, because I have such a fear of clogging someone else's toilet and not being able to fix it. Though to be fair, this kid probably should have said something with the mess he made. It wasn't my visitor, but I lived in a house that had a finished basement that was then rented as a separate unit. But we still only had 1 water heater, 1 thermostat, 1 sewage system. The guy downstairs had many female visitors come for short durations, if you catch my drift. Eventually, we had to call the property manager because the toilets were backing up. So he comes and calls the plumber. Mind you, I personally do not use tampons when I am on my period, which is an important detail. When the property manager comes up to tell us what the issue is, he starts going off about not flushing tampons down the toilet, which, again, I don't do because I don't use them. So, these escorts came for their job and backed our sewage system up, and I got blamed for it twice. That's when you started leaving tampons dipped in ketchup in his things, especially in his shoes. Kept giving their toddlers candy canes all Christmas week, even after we asked them not to. Candy cane smears were absolutely everywhere. A woman I considered a friend came to visit and asked for black coffee, then secretly poured it on my carpet under the table because she was paranoid I was poisoning her. Turns out she was backstabbing me and thought I knew it, which I did find out shortly after. Telling me how I'm supposed to cook, finding things like air vents that I hadn't cleaned and telling me how I need to clean them, wearing shoes in my house, telling me either way I dress is terrible, turning my TV off. BC people don't watch TV when visitors are there, making my grandma cry, etc. I had a friend who came to visit and brought one of his new friends over, and I explained that my dog's habits won't be changing. I let the dog have a quick sniff of old mate and the dog returns to whatever he was doing, not being annoying or even really hanging around. About an hour on, the poor dog was sitting on his side of the lounge and this fella decides he's gonna try and shoo him away. After multiple attempts, he grabbed the dog by the collar to persuade him to move by force. The dog expressed his discomfort without being aggressive. The dog just stared him down for a few moments, put his ears back and made himself really hard to move around. Then this C just punched the dog right in the snout out of anger or trying to show the dog who's boss. I'm surprised and couldn't really believe what had happened. My dog starting growling, looked at me like he was asking for permission. I gave a nod and the dog went off his nut at him, pushed him back against the door barking but not attempting to bite. I ripped the guy a new one once he got outside and sent him packing. Never seen him again. That's the only time my dog has been aggressive towards another person other than the occasional I'm here protecting my house soft bark when he's on the property and someone dodgy is walking past. He's a 11-12-year-old kelpie named Stubby. He's always been a kind, soft couch potato. My mom and her husband were visiting for the holidays. My wife likes to make chocolate mousse from scratch. Part of the process is folding the chocolate mixture into the other part. Not sure of the details. A little at a time. I guess this butthole thought she was done with the bowl of chocolate, even though it was still half full, because he walks up and drags a couple of his grubby fingers through it and then licks it off of them. The look on my wife's face was freaking priceless. That was 20 years ago and she's still pee. Needless to say, she doesn't make mousse when he's in the house anymore. I love that she's still pee. 10 years ago I carefully weighed cheese for 3 pizzas as I was running low and my brother grabs a handful walking by and swallows it whole like a damned python. Yelled at him then and it is still a periodic source of arguments. Tell her to stay strong. The fight is real. Hands down when my mistake of a boyfriend allowed his work buddy to live with us. Found him doing C where I made my infant child's formula bottles. And zero regrets about the phone call I made. I'd probably kill him for that. Got a puppy, let it get sick with parvo then refused to take it to the vet. Puppy wasn't going to make it so we paid to put it down and bury it. Most definitely kicked her butt out. That disease can stay in your home for months. Please be careful bringing any other puppies into the house. Not trying to be nosy, just figured you might not know how long parvovirus can remain contagious. Putting their goddamn feet on my mother fricking furniture. I didn't spend 40 hours of my life building that couch from hand selected wood and fabrics and processing and turning it into a work of art for you to put your feet on it. It pisses me off to no end. If you want to prop your feet up I have footstools there for you. Oh, and use a freaking coaster for your glass. They're not there for decorations. This is why I don't invite people over to my house that often. Not me, but I was there. My friend up visited a co-worker of one of my friends. We arrived and she said that we should feel at home, like you do. One of my friends took this way too far. He immediately took off his shirt and his pants, sat on the couch in his underwear, feet on the table and demanded a beer. We just sat there and watched in horror disbelief. She was a stranger to most of us, including him, and nobody expected this. She just went to the kitchen and brought snacks and drinks. We tried to make him put back his clothes on until one of us had enough and he literally kicked him out discreetly. Never have I ever been so embarrassed. He didn't want to be there but didn't want to cancel either. We don't smoke. He smoked in our bathroom as soon as he arrived, then pretended he hadn't. We literally just had a newborn so wasn't too pleased with the unneeded stress. He said he didn't want to be cold outside. Same guest decided to yank our shower hose out of the wall at 5 AM to do a DIY because he wasn't happy with how short our shower hose was. Same guest put a piece of wedding cake in our toaster one morning. I'm sure there are more. It was a memorable first meeting and fortnight for me. In-laws. A good friend of mine visits often, and while I enjoy his visits, he washes his face with all the reckless abandon of a woman in a Neutrogena commercial. Like there's water everywhere, every time. On prom night, one of my friends practically begged me to ask my parents if she and some other friends could sleep over. They said yes, but ultimately she ended up being the only one that could go. She spent the entire night on FaceTime with her boyfriend, barely spoke to me, didn't even acknowledge my mom when she spoke to her, and woke me up at an ungodly hour because she was sitting right next to me talking with her boyfriend on the phone at full volume. She didn't hang up with him until she got in my car to go home. Vowed right then and there I would never invite her over again. This was a friend of a friend who I had agreed could stay with us for a few days while we all prepped for a trip. It was understood that I would drive the group to various stores to get needed supplies. He arrived without basic personal necessities like medicine, which needed to be picked up from a specific pharmacy which was 30 miles away in the next city over. He needed to go to specific stores for trip supplies because he had gift cards but no money, again not local stores. He promised to make a fatty vegan dinner for us, with food I bought, while some of us were out all day, and greeted us with vegan pot ice cream when we returned, hungry and tired. My GF, who lived there, had asked him not to cook pot food because not everyone there was down with the smell. There's more but I'm getting too pee thinking about it, and it would take too long to type it out. Had a friend turn up the heated floor in our bathroom to max to see how hot it would get. Didn't tell anyone and walked around in there barefooted. We found out later that he loved it. Shrug. At the end of the night my wife happened to use the bathroom and noted how frigging hot it was in there. She tried to turn it down, but for whatever reason the screen was frozen and it wouldn't respond. I ended up flipping the bathroom breaker to shut it off and let it cool down overnight, then flipping it back on in the morning to reset it. Insult to injury, the backup battery for the control screen must have been dead because the timer settings were default. Had to replace the battery and then reprogram the whole thing. Sigh. This was most annoying. Not worst thing someone did, just annoying. I had a buddy come over with his dog. His dog proceeded to poop on my lawn. My buddy got real angry when I insisted that he clean it up. He decided that we couldn't be buds any longer. No loss. Waited until 4 AM when everyone was asleep. Went into our living room and onto my computer, where he proceeded to literally download, not just stream, which he could have easily done, pee onto my hard drive, as well as click on and accept whatever balls the various pop-ups were saying. Never even attempted to hide it or fix anything he had done. Just left my computer in a state of absolute fatal emergency, then walked out the door and went home like nothing happened. What the frick is wrong with people? Me and a friend had a few beers at my house and watched a movie. We both passed out in the living room. I woke up to him pee in the corner. I had someone who had a medical problem where they had to wear adult Depends, dippers, which didn't bother me at all considering I've had to wear them before due to her overactive bladder, and when I was done using them, I would dispose of them properly. This was after I got surgery for my stomach. Anyways, I had someone visit my house recently this past summer of 2021, and to make a long story short, they kept leaving their used adult Depends on my floor of my house and I had to tell them to please clean up after themselves. One time a former friend force-fed her 11-month-old strawberry milk. He ate an 8-ounce bottle and she pulled out another one and he turned his head. She said, "Drink it or I am going to shove it in your nose." Let's just say words were exchanged and our friendship ended soon after that. He had an Australian Shepherd I begged him not to get because he was lazy and instructed as frick. The dog was deranged within a year. My attempts to take my extremely well socialized border collie over to socialize her failed and I finally had to tell him no. I wouldn't bring my dog over anymore because his dog kept trying to bite my dog and bit me when I tried to stop her. So, his dog is driving him nuts and he thinks my dog will play with her so he doesn't have to, and he shows up at my house unannounced with said neurotic mess of an untrained, aggressive, unhousebroken dog, lets her loose in my house. While I'm frantically catching my cat that is loose and in danger, my dog ain't no dummy and noped the frick out as soon as she saw her. He lets the dog take a huge dump in my basement floor and tells me I need to go clean it up. Sadly, he's my father-in-law, so for my husband's sake I didn't kick him out but made it very clear the dog was not welcome back and that she needed to stay in my fenced yard until he left. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.